It's Uncle Paul, and I just love these low-carb tortillas. Well, I'm sure that many of you are already familiar with these low-carb flour tortillas that are made by the Mission brand, and they're 2 net carbs. You know, I introduced these last week's video for some sausage wraps that I did. But you know, they're just a game changer when you're on a low carb or keto diet. Just the things that you can add to spice up and make a little bit better, your meals and your eating plan, the way you eat. So for little pizzas, they just give a kind of a nice texture, a nice crunch, a little bit of a crunch. Now, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my pizza sauce. And it is 3 grams net carbs per 1/4 of a cup. Okay, I've already got my oven set to 450 degrees, so it's preheating now. And this right here is a 1/4 of a cup, and that's plenty of sauce right there. Now the next ingredient is this Italian Parmesan cheese, HEB brand, and it is only 1 gram of carbs per 1/4 of a cup. So far, we're at a grand total of 6 carbs per slice, per little pizza. Okay, so for one of them, I'm going to put some old folks country sausage, pork sausage, 0 carbs. And I'm just going to put it on there raw because I'm going to put it in the oven for 10 minutes on 450 degrees, and that will definitely cook this sausage. Okay, and for the other one, I'm going to use these thick slices of pepperoni from HEB brand, and they too have 0 carbs. Okay, so the oven is now ready, and I'm going to put those in there for 10 minutes. Okay, the buzzer just went off. It's been 10 minutes, so let's get these out. Now, for this oven, 450 for 10 minutes is just right. Look how these edges are dark brown, but they're not burnt. And so this just really kind of gets the crust nice and crispy. Look at there. Hear that crunch? Very nice. You know, I guess I'm sure you noticed the title of the video this week. Don't give up, look up. Well, of course, that's part of the theme of this channel. Looking up, you know, that has several different connotations. And as y'all know, I'm a Christian, so it definitely has a spiritual aspect to it. But others as well. I mean, it has the idea of keeping your head up and keeping a positive attitude. And really specifically here, you know, don't give up. Kind of the first step of not giving up is to look up and see the possibilities. You know, recognize, understand that, you know, we can change. We can change our circumstances in life. You know, every one of us has potential. And I would call it a God-given potential, but, you know, potential means that we have a capacity to change. We have a capacity to develop into something more than we are right now. We can grow. We all have the ability to grow. So in whatever area in all kinds of different ways. But I think the first thing we've got to do is to recognize that. And I think all too often, we just go directly to, I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. It's just not in the cards for me. I can't do it. It's impossible. But, and we don't even try. We don't even try sometimes. And even if we do try, sometimes we're going to fail. And so, I've tried several times, and I just keep failing, keep coming up short. Okay, well, believe me, I know where you're coming from. But for today, for now, just put that aside. Just put that aside. Today's a different day. Today, I can still press on. Today, I just need to make sure I look up and say, even though I've tried, even though it hasn't worked out yet, that does not mean it's impossible. That doesn't mean it can't or won't ever happen. But the first thing we've got to do, if we're not going to give up, is look up, recognize, understand that it is possible to change our circumstances. Well, most all of you know that a couple of things that I want to change about myself is losing weight and getting healthy, of course. And that's the big challenge for me. But there's another thing that I want to change. But there's many things. But one of the big things that has plagued me my whole life is having a lack of confidence, having this fear of trying things, attempting things, thinking that I'm not good enough in one way or the other. And so, I've made some good strides at changing and building up, that capacity of confidence, to go do something that normally I would feel fearful about. But for instance, I'm surprised that even to this day that I ever went out to the Appalachian Trail in the first place. That first trip that I made with the idea of thru-hiking it. I didn't know anybody out along the trail at all. There was no support that I was expecting. Just rented a car, went out there, and got a taxi to the little train station right there by the garden center there in the northern part of New York. And my first day hiking up to Wiley Shelter, it was just so exciting. And I can't believe to this day that I even attempted that. Of course, I was off the trail in a New York minute, as you may remember. But still, I've made progress in that area. But I still struggle with it. Case in point, my trip last year to New Jersey to try to hike, I think, the 72 miles of all of New Jersey. I had all kinds of support from many different people, but especially Joe and Phyllis Vanderkooy, who helped me out a lot. And then Adam, who hiked with me most of that time. And, as you know, I wasn't on the trail for very long, but the last day of hiking, I was miserable. I was dehydrated, there's no doubt. I hadn't been getting much sleep at all, but it was just miserable. And I got to the secret shelter, what's called the secret shelter, very early in the day, I think even before noon. And I had already called Joe, and I said, you got to come get me. And he delayed calling me back, and I know why, because he was wanting me, thought if I got some rest, I would think more clearly and not want to throw in the towel. And even there was no one at the secret shelter. Then finally the owner, and I forget his name, he came up, he owns that property where this shelter is, and real nice guy, talked to me for a good while, and I told him all what I was doing out there, and that I had called Joe and was throwing in the towel. And he didn't really try to talk me out of it, but I explained to him that Poach Hook Mountain was coming up. Of course, he thru-hiked the trail. He knew, obviously, he knows a lot about the trail. And so I was worried about that. It was going to be a huge climb for me. The water sources were spread out, and I was already dehydrated, and that would be coming up in a couple of days. And he just said, you know, there's nothing to that mountain. You can make that climb. Don't worry about your water. You'll have water. You know, so he very kindly was trying to basically talk me into doing it. But I was having none of it. Joe couldn't talk me out of it. And so the first year I went out on the Appalachian Trail, my back was about to give out on me, and I knew it was. And there wasn't anything really I could do about it. I was going to have to get off the trail soon anyway. The second time I went out there, I had a calf injury right before I left. And so I knew, once again, that I'd be getting off the trail pretty soon anyway. This time, last summer, it wasn't an injury. You know, if I had spent the day at the secret shelter consuming water and resting, I had a good water source right there. And the hike into Unionville the next day was only like a couple or so miles. I'd have been there once again very early in the day, and there'd have been a good water source there, and I relaxed again and drank and got hydrated once again. I might have thought differently about tackling Pochuck Mountain, you know, but I didn't do that. I lacked confidence, and I was fearful about even attempting it. And so I was very disappointed in myself once I got home. And so I learned, you know, every time I've been out there, I've learned something. But the point is that, you know, I did not see the possibility of success. I did not see that if I'd have just had a plan and been patient, that I had potential of not only conquering that mountain, but of conquering the whole state like I had originally set out to do. So that's the moral of the story, my own personal story. And, you know, I've learned from it, and I'm going to try not to make that mistake again. But, you know, gotta see those possibilities. Good Sunday morning, everybody. On those little pizzas, you know, if you left off the sauce and if you put on a cheese that was 0 carb, I mean, you could get those things down to just a couple of carbs per pizza, and they'd still be pretty good, I think. They'd still be really good. Guys, I want to thank you so much for your comments after last week's video about what AT thru-hikers you're following, because there were some good ones there, and I've added a few more to my list that I'm going to try to follow this season. So I appreciate that. And really, I appreciate just in general all the encouragement and all the feedback in every way that you guys give me. So I really appreciate that, and thank you very much for that. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and remember, always look up. And I will see you next week.